It started as this faint, ticking sound, just barely noticeable over the usual hum of the fridge and dishes clinking in the sink. At first, I thought maybe the plumbing was acting up again. One of those everyday noises you tune out. But the more I heard it, the more it dug into me. Steady, soft, just enough to raise the hairs on your neck if you stood still long enough. That's when Karen called out to me from the hallway. "Eli," she said, like she was asking me to grab something from the store. "The tub's leaking again." I was at the kitchen counter flipping through the usual stack of mail, water bill, some pizza coupons, and a notice about jury duty. I dropped it all on the counter and headed toward the bathroom. Karen stood there in her robe, hand on her hip, staring down at a wet towel she'd laid across the floor. It was already soaked through. "Same spot as before?" I asked, kneeling down beside the tub. "Yep," she said, tightening the robe around herself. "Feels like it's getting worse." That bathtub had been nothing but trouble. Old-school clawfoot style, the kind of thing folks call charming when they don't have to fix it themselves. I'd already tried patching the pipes once, and the second time I brought in a guy I found on Craigslist. This was round 3. People say third time's the charm. I wasn't convinced. "Call someone," she said, brushing past me toward the sink to grab her phone. As she moved by, I caught a light whiff of her perfume, floral with a hint of citrus. It caught me off guard. She never wore perfume around the house. "I'll take care of it," I told her, but she was already scrolling through contacts. That was on a Wednesday. By the next morning, she had an appointment lined up. "Plumber's coming tomorrow afternoon," she told me over her morning coffee, not even looking up from her phone. He had a cancellation. Said he could swing by around 4. Kind of short notice, don't you think? She smiled. "Just lucky, I guess." "Lucky? Sure, if you want to call it that." To be honest, I didn't give it too much thought right then. Karen's always been the organized type, gets things done fast, no fuss. It was one of the things I loved about her when we first met. She made stuff happen, handled things. The plumber showed up at 4:12 on the dot that Friday. I remember because I was halfway through a Zoom meeting with my manager, half listening to talk about sales numbers when the doorbell rang. Before I could even get out of my chair, Karen was already at the door. From where I sat, I could only catch a glimpse. A pair of worn boots, faded jeans, and a black shirt with Joe's Plumbing written across the chest in peeling letters. "Hey," I heard the guy say in this easy, confident voice. "Come on in," Karen replied. Something in the way she said it made me look up again. I couldn't quite place it. It wasn't her words. It was her tone. Joe didn't look like any plumber I'd expected. Younger guy, maybe mid-30s. Tan, built like he spent more time lifting lumber than turning wrenches. Beard trimmed but rugged. The kind of guy who acts like looks don't matter, but clearly knows exactly what he's doing. I turned back to my laptop and tried to stay focused. From down the hall, I heard clinking metal, water running, a wrench hitting tile. Karen laughing at something he said. Not a polite laugh, either, the kind she gave back when we first started dating. The kind she stopped using with me years ago. I told myself not to read into it. Let it go. When my meeting finally ended, I stepped into the hallway. Empty. No voices. But I could hear running water and what sounded like quiet talking. I knocked once. "Everything all right in there?" A pause. Then Karen's voice. "Yep. Joe's just checking the water pressure." "Water pressure." "Sure." I walked away, feeling this weird twist in my stomach. Couldn't explain why. Just knew something was off. About an hour later, Joe left. I heard the door close behind him. Karen stayed in the bathroom for another 10 minutes. When she finally came out, her hair was wet. "How'd it go?" I asked. "He fixed it," she said, smiling too much. That night, she was off. Not cold, not loving, just distracted. She kept looking at her phone like it was going to tell her a secret. She'd type something, then stop, erase it, start again. And that smile she wore didn't fit her face right. I didn't say anything, just watched. Next morning, while she was in the shower, I did something I had never done in all our 8 years together. I picked up her phone. One message stood out, clear as day. "That was fun. Let me know when I can come fix something else." Her reply? "Next Friday. I'll make sure Eli's busy." My chest didn't tighten. My hands didn't shake. It was like my body just went still, like I had hit some kind of switch. I heard the shower stop. I slid the phone right back where it was. She came out humming, wrapped in a towel. I smiled at her like nothing had changed. Right then and there, I made up my mind. I was not going to confront her. Not yet. I wanted to see how far she would go. How much of our life she was willing to throw away. She thought she was running the game, but I was going to change the rules. And from that point on, I paid attention, real attention. Not the half-there kind I'd been giving the last couple years. I mean sharp, focused, cold attention. The kind where you see everything. And she didn't notice. That was the first real surprise. While she sat at the table eating breakfast, I stood by the window, sipping my coffee. I could see her reflection in the glass, chewing slower than usual, glancing at her phone, then slipping it under her thigh when she noticed me watching. Subtle, but not invisible. Her signs were piling up, one after another. At 3:45 that afternoon, she said she had to run to the store to grab groceries. I waited exactly 8 minutes after the garage door shut, then went straight to the drawer under our tax paperwork. That drawer used to be where she hid birthday surprises for me back when we were still real. Now, it held something else, a burner phone I had tucked away for moments like this. I called the Harper Inn. Front desk. The man answered, sounding half asleep. "This is Officer Jameson with the County Vice Squad," I said, cool and to the point. "We've had multiple complaints about illegal activity in room 214. We'll be dropping by shortly." I hung up before he could say a word. I was not law enforcement. Never have been. But places like that, they do not ask many questions when someone drops a badge into the conversation. It was not about getting anyone in trouble. I just needed to shake things up, throw a wrench into their little routine. Make Joe sweat. Karen came home at 5:12 p.m. No grocery bags. She walked through the door fast, like she was still running from something. Her cheeks were flushed, hair slightly damp. She had buttoned her blouse wrong, one button too high, like she got dressed in a hurry. When our eyes met, she froze for a split second too long. "Hey," she said, sounding out of breath. "Hey," I answered, stirring a pot of chili on the stove. "Did you find what you needed?" There was a pause. They were out of ground turkey. "Figures," I muttered. I didn't turn around. Didn't give her the satisfaction of eye contact. Just kept stirring. She stood there for a second, then walked off down the hallway, her steps quicker than normal, like someone trying to escape their own guilt. That evening, over dinner, I brought up the idea of counseling. "I think maybe we should talk to someone," I said, acting casual while buttering some bread. Her fork stopped midair. "Why would we do that?" "I don't know. Just feels like we've grown apart. Might be good to check in. Fix things." She looked surprised. Not happy. Not hopeful. Just thrown off, like she was trying to figure out if I was setting a trap. "Yeah," she said finally. "Sure. We could do that." Right? Like she wasn't already sharing her time, her energy, her body with a guy who showed up with a toolbox and walked out with everything else. I found a therapist from 2 towns over. Someone she would not recognize, someone I trusted to keep things off the radar. Before the first appointment, I installed a call recording app on my phone. The audio came in clean as a whistle. I was not just protecting myself anymore. I was building a case. In the meantime, I reached out to Joe. Not with my phone. Not with the burner either. I used an anonymous message service online, rerouted through who knows how many servers. The message was short. "You might want to get tested. She's not as exclusive as you think. A friend." I did not care whether he believed it. I just needed to plant doubt. That is the killer. Once doubt gets in, it spreads like mold. You can never scrub it all the way out. Karen got jumpy fast after that. She kept checking her phone, scrolling like she was searching for something she could not find. She got quieter, edgier. The usual shine in her voice disappeared. No flirting. No humming while she folded towels. Just static. I said nothing. Let her sit in it. Then luck handed me something I could not have planned better. She left her phone on the kitchen counter one night while she went to shower. Unlocked. Maybe she was slipping. Maybe Joe had finally said something that knocked her sideways. Either way, I took the chance. I found a hidden photo folder. Inside, her and Joe. In our bathroom. In our backyard. One shot had the mirror steamed up and Karen standing there grinning while he stood behind her holding a wrench like some kind of inside joke. She had brought him into my home. That was it. Something broke inside me right then. Not loud. Not hot. Just final. Like a hammer hitting stone. I sent those photos to myself, Made a new folder on my laptop, labeled it Divide. It was everything I needed. She thought she still had a husband. She was wrong. She had a ghost. I was already one step ahead, walking through every room she thought she owned, rewriting the whole ending while she was still stuck in Act 2. That night, she curled up beside me like nothing had changed. Her leg wrapped over mine like it used to, like that meant something now. She fell asleep fast, snored softly, and all I could think was how heavy a lie can feel when you're the only one carrying the truth. While she slept, I stayed up organizing files. Screenshots, call logs, messages, that stupid, blurry photo of her and Joe in the master bathroom, sunlight coming in through the blinds, same time every afternoon. That one hurt the most, not because of what they were doing, because they did it there, in the place I built, in a room where we brought our kid home for the first time. That was my space, and she handed it over like it meant nothing. Come Monday, I told her the therapist had asked us to write down our thoughts, separate journals. 3 pages each, honest reflections. She smiled, thought it was cute. She did not realize she was giving me more evidence. I told her to email me her version so we could compare feelings. And she did. The email subject said, trying to be honest. She talked about feeling invisible, said I'd gotten too distant, that she missed feeling alive, that she wanted more spark. And then she wrote something I will never forget. Sometimes I feel like I'm disappearing, and people remind me I'm still visible. She typed his name, right there, in her own words. That was the final piece. Still, I played it cool. I told her we should take a weekend trip, just the 2 of us, somewhere quiet, a cabin in the woods. No phones, just air and space. Pretend to fix things, or finish breaking them. Karen hesitated, said she had a commitment Saturday afternoon, then changed her mind and said she could reschedule, which told me everything I needed to know. She was still seeing him, and she still thought she had a chance to keep both lives. So I booked the cabin with cash. No receipts, no paper trail. I packed light, change of clothes, burner phone, a flash drive with all the proof, and a GoPro with a clean memory card. If I was going to end this, I was going to record every second. She put on her outdoorsy look for the drive, flannel shirt, boots, hair up like she was trying out for a catalog ad. Halfway there, she reached for my hand. I'm glad we're doing this, she said. I looked over and nodded. Yeah, I said. Me too. And maybe part of me meant it, because I knew how it was going to end. She just didn't know I was the one writing the final chapter. Even up in the mountains, with fresh air and bird song and all that peaceful nonsense, her skin still carried a faint trace of his cologne. Saturday morning, I brewed the coffee stronger than usual. No sugar, no milk, just bitter enough to catch her breath on the first sip. Karen took her cup out onto the porch and sat quietly, staring at the trees like they had something to tell her. She looked calm, almost like someone who believed the worst had already passed. So I decided to poke the bear a little. I've been thinking, I said, leaning on the porch rail. If we're really trying to fix this, I want us to start over. No lies, no secrets, clean slate. She turned and looked at me, brow slightly raised. Start over. Yeah, I said. No more half-truths. No more hiding little things. I want honesty. From both of us. There was a pause, just long enough to tell me everything I needed to know. I've told you what matters, she said, quiet, steady. And that was it. Her line in the sand. She did not even blink. I nodded like that answer satisfied me. Smiled even. That's when it hit me. I was not going to confront her. Not yet. Not directly. Because if she could lie that easily, that convincingly, then I wanted to see how far she'd go. What else she'd keep under wraps. Every new lie would give me more ammunition, more power. So I kissed her on the forehead. Then I poured another cup of that bitter coffee, feeling the plan tighten in my hands. We came back from a cabin Sunday evening. She kissed me when we walked through the front door, a bit longer than normal, like she was trying to prove something to herself, like she wanted the moment to feel real. She told me she was going to take a bath. Of course she was. I stayed in the kitchen, running the tap, clanking dishes that didn't need washing. Then I grabbed the burner phone I kept stashed under the old receipts and tax folders. There it was. A text from Joe. Don't ghost me. You good? She hadn't messaged him once over the weekend. I had been watching her like a hawk. She took her phone into the bathroom once, typed something, but must have deleted it before sending. That silence was getting to him. Perfect, because when people get anxious, they start messing up. I wrote back, "She's busy. We need to talk." Sent it. A minute later, "Who is this?" I didn't respond. Not yet. Let him stew in it. The next morning, I did something bold. Not reckless. Thought out, start to finish. I drove to Joe's place. Just a warehouse-sized garage on the edge of town, tucked between a payday loan shop and a vape store. Big cracked sign overhead. Joe's Plumbing. One dented red toolbox sat on the concrete out front, like it was the only thing keeping the place from falling over. I parked across the road and waited. 15 minutes later, Joe walked out. Coffee in one hand, phone in the other, cigarette behind his ear. He looked off, not completely falling apart, but not strutting either. You can tell a lot about a man by how he carries himself when nobody's watching. And right then, Joe's confidence was gone. His walk said one thing: something ain't right. I snapped a picture of him leaning on his truck, zoomed in, saved it. Then I emailed it to myself using an encrypted account. Subject line: the man who visits when the husband's away. I created a new folder on my laptop, called it Confession Bait. That night, I asked Karen if she wanted to grab dinner at her favorite Thai place. She looked surprised. "Tonight?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Why not?" She smiled, kind of like she didn't know whether to be touched or suspicious. She said yes. Over dinner, while we picked at noodles and drank cold beers, I stared across the table and asked, "You ever lied to me?" Her fort paused midair. "Of course not," she said a beat later. "Too smooth. Too perfect." "Why?" "Just something the therapist said," I replied. "Some kind of honesty game. You know, no judgment. Just truth." She tilted her head like I was being cute. So I pushed one more inch. "Ever had feelings for someone else?" This time, she flinched. Barely. But I saw it. She forced a chuckle. "I mean, everyone gets little crushes. Nothing serious. Someone I know?" Now she laughed for real, but it sounded hollow. "You're being weird." I smiled. "Just curious." Then I leaned in a little. Quiet voice. "Got a strange message the other day." Her expression changed instantly. "What kind of message?" "Anonymous," I said. "Said you were cheating on me." She blinked. Loud a nervous laugh. "That's crazy." "Yeah," I said. "Probably just someone messing around." Her hand were trembling slightly. I didn't tell her about the message I had sent myself. Didn't mention the voicemail Joe left, breathing heavy, angry, confused. "Tell her to call me." "This is not funny," he'd said. He still had no idea who he was messing with. Neither did she. After dinner, she barely spoke on the drive home. Just stared out the window, lost in whatever version of the story she was trying to rewrite. That night, I messaged Joe again. Simple. "Meet me. Tomorrow. 8. Lot behind the vape shop." No name. No threats. Just instructions. And he came. His truck idled in the lot. He paced around, glancing at every shadow. Checked his phone, rubbed his face. He was jumpy, looking like he expected someone to crack his ribs with a crowbar any second. I never stepped out. I watched from the dark and let him spiral. Because the next move? That had to come from her. And it started with something small. Karen started waking up earlier. That woman used to sleep through 2 alarms and need coffee to even blink. Now she was moving around by sunrise. Quiet, careful, avoiding eye contact. She was shrinking, trying to disappear before I noticed the weight on her back. She skipped breakfast, didn't touch her smoothies anymore. Whatever appetite she had was being eaten by guilt, which was perfect. I sent Joe another message. "She's using you. Get your head on straight." No reply, at least not right away. The next day, I got a message from a brand new number, one I hadn't seen yet. That meant only one thing. He'd swapped phones, which meant I had his full attention. The text said, "Who is this? What do you want?" I waited a full 24 hours before replying. "I want the truth, and I want you to see who she really is." Then I turned off the burner and poured a fresh cup of coffee. Because the storm hadn't hit yet, but it was coming, and I was going to be the only one standing when it cleared. That next evening, Karen walked into the living room holding her phone like it had just bit her. She did not sit, just stood there fidgeting like she was working up the nerve for something. "Eli," she said, careful and slow, "have you been getting strange messages lately?" I looked up from the book I wasn't really reading. "A couple. Why? She shifted her weight. I think someone's messing with us. Us? I asked, pretending to be confused. I do not know. Could be someone who knows both of us. Maybe someone jealous, trying to stir things up. I stared at her for a beat. You think someone's jealous of what we've got? That one landed. She flinched, tried to smile it off, but it wobbled. You know what I meant? Yeah, I said slowly. Probably just spam. But I motioned to the chair across from me. Sit down. We should talk. Her eyes flickered, just a second, like a deer waiting to bolt. About what? I closed the book gently. No heat in my voice, just steady. Do you love me, Karen? She blinked a few times. Of course I do. Would you tell me if you didn't? Tiny pause. Just a heartbeat. Yes. I want to believe you, I said, lacing my fingers together. But if anything's happened, if you've stepped outside of this marriage, this is the time to say it. The silence in the room changed. Got sharp. Mean. She sat still like a statue. Her fingers clutched her phone tighter. Her mouth opened, like she was searching for the right lie to grab. And then she said it. No, I haven't. There it was. The last lie. She could not walk it back now. Not without burning everything she was still pretending to hold together. I gave her a slow nod, like I believed her. But inside, I felt nothing. Because now I had it. Her flat-out denial. And if I needed to bury her in court or blow up her world in the street, I had what I needed. I just had to pull the trigger. Later that night, she slipped out into the backyard. I watched from the kitchen, saw her looking up at the sky like it had something to say. Her phone buzzed twice. She ignored it. Joe was spiraling. So I sent him one last message. You're not the first, just the dumbest. A guy like him? That line sticks. His pride was always the biggest thing in the room. He did not care about Karen, not really, but he cared about not being a punchline. The next day, while Karen was at what she said was yoga, Joe showed up at the house. I was waiting. He knocked like he was expecting a trap. His jaw was tight, eyes darting. Looked like a man who had not slept in 2 nights. I opened the door. Calm. No weapon. No shouting. You're Eli? He asked, voice tight. That's right. He let out a shaky breath. We need to talk. I'm listening. He started explaining fast. How she told him we were separated. How she seemed lonely. How she said I had pulled away and he was just trying to be there for her. I let him talk. Every word, every excuse. I just stood there quiet. I don't want anything to do with her anymore, he finally said. If you've got evidence, if this is going public, I swear I didn't know. I stared at him a second, then said, then prove it. He squinted. What do you mean? If you're done protecting her, then help me end it. He froze. That is when it hit him. I was not there to forgive or forget. I handed him a manila envelope. Inside were screenshots of her texts, the ones where she joked about me, the ones where she talked about fixing more than the plumbing. She played both of us, I said, but I'm the one she promised forever to. And she lied under oath. He opened the folder. His hand shook. You want her gone? I asked. Then give me your part. He handed me his phone. All of it's in there. I backed up everything onto a flash drive, then gave the phone back. Joe didn't say goodbye. Just got in his truck and left. That night, Karen kissed me in the kitchen. Looked like she believed it was over, the worst behind her. And I smiled right back, because tomorrow was the worst. It started with an envelope. I did not tape it anywhere. Didn't leave it on the bed. Just quietly slipped it into her purse while she was brushing her teeth, humming like she had not shattered our life. Inside, 3 photos. A printout of a text exchange with Joe. And a note, handwritten. You lied. I watched. I listened. Now it's your turn. No name. But she knew. She knew. I sat on the bench in the garage. Calm. Collected. 5 minutes later, the back door flew open. Her footsteps pounded in, wild and uneven. Eli, she called out, panicked. I didn't respond. She found me sitting in the dark, holding the envelope like it was about to explode. What is this? She asked, voice shaking. Where did you get these? I looked up. Slow. Which part are you asking about? I said, the picture of you and him in our bed? Or the one where you called me a cold shell of a man? Eli, I can explain. No, I cut in. You had chances. In this garage. At the cabin. In therapy. In bed. You looked me in the eye and you lied. Every time. She stopped breathing for a second. The tears hadn't come. but they were behind her eyes now, building up like a flood. She took a step closer. Voice soft. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. And that almost made me laugh. A mistake. I stood up slow, staring right at her. You know what a mistake is? Locking your keys in the truck. Hitting reply all by accident. Not sleeping with the damn plumber in your husband's home while the marriage still had a pulse. That is when the tears started. But they did not land on me. I was long past caring. You don't understand, she said, voice cracking. You shut me out. You stopped being there. I shook my head. I was right here the whole time, Karen. You just quit looking. She slumped onto the stool beside me like the weight finally caught up. Covered her face with her hands. I just watched. Arms crossed. Nothing left to say. Then I dropped the hammer. Already filed, I told her. Met with the lawyer last month. The house is staying with me. Remember the prenup? Clause says cheating throws out fair division. She lifted her head slowly. Eyes wide. You're serious. As serious as water damage, I said. Or whatever the hell you let in through the pipes. She looked like she had no breath left. I kept going. I've got everything. Screenshots. Recordings. Photos. Even that little journal entry where you slipped and named Joe. You read that? She whispered, stunned. I gave her a small smile. I read all of it. Her tears started shaking. What do you want me to do? Nothing, I said flat. Just leave. Quietly. While you still have a shred of dignity. She stammered. What about my friends? My job? My family? They'll figure it out eventually, I said. But it won't come from me. A bit of hope flickered in her eyes. So I leaned in close and added, It'll come from him. Joe. I nodded. He thinks you played him. Thinks you were going to let him take the fall. That's not true. Doesn't matter. I cut in. I made sure it looks like it is. She clutched her face like she was holding her head together. Oh my God. You'll hear whispers, I said. At work. From friends. People giggling when you walk in a room. You can't do that. I stepped toward the door, hand on the knob. Look back once. I already did. She stood up, desperate now. Please, Eli, we can fix this. I paused. You already did. She blinked. What does that mean? I opened the door. By breaking it. Then I walked out and left her standing in that dim garage, surrounded by all the ghosts she invited in. No yelling. No slamming. Just a quiet door. And a truth she finally had to live with. That night, I did not crash on the couch. I slept in our bed. Alone. And for the first time in months, I actually slept. Straight through. 3 months went by. The divorce finalized quicker than I expected. Karen never put up a fight. Signed everything like a woman who had been knocked clean out and was still waiting for the bell. Her lawyer tried once. Something about emotional stress and support payments. But I laid the evidence on the table, one piece at a time. They folded fast. She moved out within the week. No long goodbye. No drawn-out packing. Just a rented truck, a few plastic bins, and the faint scent of her perfume in the hallway. That same citrus blend that smelled like regret. I did not watch her leave. Did not need to. I had already buried the woman I thought I married. Joe came by once. Just once. Showed up wearing a hoodie, ball cap, pulled low like he was hiding from the press. I did not let him in. Just leaned against the door frame. Figured you wouldn't answer, he said. I shouldn't have. He rubbed his neck. I didn't know. Not really. I let the silence hang between us. She told me she was leaving you, he said finally. Said it was over. Guess I believed her. People believe a lot of stupid things when they're not thinking with the right head, I said. I got a small laugh out of him. It sounded bitter. I lost a lot, he said. Work. Clients. My name. Guy at the bar called me a homewrecker. What did you say back? Nothing. I looked him over. He wasn't that cocky guy anymore. Not the one that walked into my home like it was his. That version was gone. All that was left was the wreckage. I'm not going to ruin your life, Joe, I said. Already did what I needed to do. He blinked. Why not finish the job? Because you're not worth it. He didn't argue. Just nodded, muttered a thank you, and walked off. Never saw him again. Kara tried to reach out once. 1 month after the divorce was done. Email. Subject line, for what it's worth. I didn't open it. Deleted it. Emptied the trash. She wanted forgiveness? She'd have to find it somewhere else. I was not the one holding a candle anymore. The house is quiet now. Really quiet. At first, I hated it. The stillness. No footsteps. No one asking what I wanted for dinner. But it grew on me. I tore out the old bathtub. Everything that reminded me of what happened in that room gone. Pipes, tile, fixtures. I brought a new crew, told them what I wanted. Simple, clean, mine. They understood. The new tub is dark stone. Deep, quiet. It does not creak. It does not echo. And there are no footprints left behind. Every now and then, someone who used to know us will ask, "Hey, whatever happened with you and Karen?" And I tell them the same thing every time. She left something running too long. I had to shut it off before it flooded the place. Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they just nod. And sometimes they change the subject. That's fine, because I'm not rewriting the past. I just stopped letting anyone else write it for me. Now, I run in the mornings, read in the evenings, started keeping a journal. Not for pain, but for peace. I do not miss her. Not really. I miss who I thought she was. But you don't mourn smoke. You just stop breathing it in. I didn't destroy her. I just made sure she couldn't destroy me. And maybe that is the best ending you can ask for. She gets to live with what she did. And I get to live.